Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody who's going to have to listen to me for about the next 20 minutes. I hope that it's going to be informative, and I hope that I get some feedback at the end of the session as well. I just wanted to start just to say a little bit about the Global Road Safety Partnership because they funded me to be here, so I thought I ought to. They're a partnership that were established by the World Bank out of the World Bank partnerships programs, which partnerships between business, governments and civil society. They've been operating now for 11 years and they have networks now operating in around 30 countries around the world. That's 30 low and middle income countries. Their mission really is dedicated to the sustainable reduction of road crash deaths and injury in low and middle income countries. They have a team of expert staff around the world as well, and they're actively building partnerships that deliver global good practice, which was based on the work from the WHO report from 2004 and the subsequent good practice manuals. So that's just a little bit to introduce GRSP first of all. What am I going to do this morning? I'm really going to answer, or try and answer, 3 questions. First question is, do road safety public education campaigns work? Second is, what's the formula for success? And the third, what does community involvement deliver? So I hope I'm going to do that, but I'll have a good try. Public education campaigns, do they work? Well, I'm actually sort of saying that they don't work, or they don't work on their own. If we actually say that the thing that we really want out of public education campaigns is to change the behaviours of people who are using our road systems, that's all road users, not just drivers, pedestrians, motorcyclists, cyclists, whatever. So they don't really, on their own, certainly they won't deliver better road user behaviour, and that's our goal. If you really want to get good road user behaviour, you have to have the right attitudes, and they don't really on their own deliver good or better attitudes to driving for our drivers. They possibly improve understanding. On their own they can do something around understanding, but I still think they need to be reinforced with other work. And they certainly do raise awareness. So maybe that's the thing that public education campaigns really do if they're on their own. But, and there's always buts, it depends on really what you're targeting to do on a campaign. So as I said there earlier on, if your target is to achieve improved awareness, then certainly public campaigns or education campaigns can do that. But the important thing is they really deliver when they're part of a set of activities to improve road safety. So it has to be in a strategic context around a program of things. And we've heard people talking today about the 4 E's. So it's got to be working together with engineering, with enforcement, plus education, and I guess the 4th E was about the emergency services, but it needs to be working in that context. I use something here because I think a lot of this is about not necessarily road safety itself, but it's another set of expertise which I think is needed in road safety campaigns and certainly in education campaigns. And that's having people who've really got professional understanding and knowledge of communications and engagement, marketing people, public relations people, real communicators. You ought to be working with them. This is a model I used in BP when I started looking at road safety there, because I found that in the organisation there were a lot of good things, and there's a lot of good things already in place in India. The Motor Vehicle Act has got everything in there. There's a lot of programs being implemented, but it's really how well are they being implemented and how's that process operating. And what this is I call it my communication and engagement rainbow. If all you're going to do is put out media campaigns, TV, in cinemas, newspapers, posters, what you'll do at the first level is inform people. And you can do that through the media, but all it will do is raise awareness and get it into people's eyes. They'll see it. Where you start needing to get to, though, is to get people to understand why that stuff is out there and clarify it for them so it has some meaning in their minds, so they've now got it in their head. And that you can do with the mass media, but quickly you need to start having personal interaction. So people have got to be having conversations. This is where communities can get involved as well. But if you really want people to accept things and change their attitudes, then it starts really moving up into that interaction. And you need to start engaging with people. Then people will start accepting it and start getting it into their heart. And the fourth thing, which is really where we want to get to, is getting people to commit. And that's when you've really got to involve people from the community, from society, in actually the issue. So they can have the conversation with you to clarify further that understanding and really start owning it for themselves and delivering it in their behaviors, which is where we want to get to. So to me, that's the golden thing that all of this really needs to work to. This actually is about working with communication experts. I just wanted to use a couple of examples about campaigns as well. And at the moment, it's very difficult to talk about campaigns in Australia because we're playing a cricket match at the moment, England and Australia. I don't think we're doing very well this morning. But anyway, I'll defer to Victoria Roads and the Traffic Accident Commission in Australia, who've done a lot of great campaigns. And they've been running campaigns around drink driving, which I know is a problem here as well in India, since 1989. And in the state of Victoria, they've seen something like a 50% drop in drink drive-related fatalities between 1989 and 2007. And it wasn't a once-off campaign. This campaign is in its 6th phase. So it is continuous. It needs to be sustainable, which is another message about public education campaigns. It's not a once-off. It's a continuous drip feed to keep it in people's minds. It combines the mass media through advertising and organisations such as the police force through enforcement. If you're going to run a campaign, there needs to be something actually else around it, as I said earlier on. And in a lot of these campaigns, other community agencies as well. What they do with these campaigns, though, is really understand and try and learn why people drink and drive. So again, that's where the expertise comes in from the communicators. They know how to conduct that sort of research. So whatever campaigns they deliver are properly targeted and then properly rolled out. So they can find out what the characteristics are of drink driver offenders, what part of the population. And I think they found it was really the younger end of the driving community, I think between 21 and 29. So start doing your campaigns to address them. You need to understand the attitudes of drivers to drink driving as well. And one of the things that they particularly discovered is that people will be, well, I'm only a little bit over, so maybe I can get away with it, or maybe I won't be caught. And then they need to measure the audience reactions to their campaigns and how it changes their attitudes and ultimately their behaviours. And clearly they need to see the result, and they get that in the police accident statistics when they go out and investigate the accidents. So I commend you to look at the tax safety website. I've put the address on this as well. But they are very good campaigns. They're properly structured campaigns. Other organisations around the world do the same. Certainly the Think campaigns in the UK are similarly run, but I like this particular one is well documented, and it really explains how they work. What is community involvement? Well, that last part really tells me that campaigns do work if they're properly structured. But then it's really about what the community involvement, what does that actually deliver? The key thing actually for us here is it's really giving people a sense of ownership. And if you get that sense of ownership amongst society, then you've got a better chance of having the right attitude and changing the behaviours. You clearly need to have the top-down involvement from government, but ultimately the delivery is around the people. So communities need to be involved. And communities actually can be all sorts of things. The NGO sort of organisations that I represent, or other civil society groups. It could actually be businesses as well, because a business actually has a community of its own with its own workforce, and they can get involved. What does it actually provide? What does community involvement deliver in provision? It actually provides an understanding of the public's priorities and issues. People will tell you what the problem is because they understand it in their local society. So if data is weak in really identifying the issues, the public, in conversation with the public, will quickly tell you. And I read an article when I was in Mumbai earlier on in the week, and they were talking about, in this newspaper article, about people crossing a railway track because there was no bridge and they were dying. Talked about actually how society rose up and started campaigning to have things changed. And having those sort of campaigns has delivered some improvement. So society has a big role in this. It increases public support for the efforts of the authorities as well, because again, the authorities are not just dictating a set of rules and regulations, but they're in conversation with people. And that again is extremely important. And it also helps to promote the effective delivery of campaigns or interventions, whatever we're doing. Because again, it's about the understanding why those campaigns are being run, why those interventions are in place or those new laws are coming in, so you have that involvement with the society to get the acceptability. And then society itself can act as a watchdog. So are these programs and campaigns and interventions working? They'll tell you if they're working or not. And they'll become very strong advocates from road safety at the same time. I just wanted to describe a few campaigns in other parts of the world. This one's Brazil, and I know that India and Brazil can be pretty well related. And in Brazil, we've been, as Global Road Safety Partnership, been working together with a number of cities in Brazil in something we called a proactive partnership strategy. And these partnerships are really bringing together civil society, businesses, communities, and the authorities within the towns. This particular program is in a town or a city called San Jose dos Campos, just outside of São Paulo. And I went to visit them in June this year. Since running this campaign and starting it in 2006, they've seen the people dying on the roads or seriously injured on the roads, they call it killed and serious injuries, reduced by 62% in just 3 years. Not only have they seen the reduction in fatalities and serious injuries by 62%, but their motorization has gone up by, in their four-vehicle fleet, by over 27%, and in their two-vehicle fleet by over 50%. So as their motorization has been growing, the number of people injured and killed has been falling. And everybody tells us as motorization is growing, you kill more people. They're proving that you don't need to do that. You can buck the trend. But it's the way you bring these campaigns together, and it's the way that you get communities involved. The mayor of that particular city proudly shows people who go to his city the photograph of his hospitals and his hospital wards. He has a photograph of empty beds in his hospital because in the city pays for the medical care for the population. And he's delighted to have empty beds because most of his beds were being filled by victims of road crashes. No longer the case. So he's now a very happy mayor because it means that he's got more money to do other things and maybe to further improve road safety in his city. So there's a good example. Another good example of where communities get together and together with education campaigns is in Vietnam with their introduction of helmet legislation. And the result of their campaigns is, we say, 1,537 less deaths in 2008, because the number of deaths just sort of came down. And what it was a campaign to get people to look after their heads, put helmets on. And the photographs here really show you the before the 15th of December 2007, when the new law came in, and after the 15th of December 2007. But why it worked is because there were many collaborative partners, government leadership, sustained preparation of the effort. So it wasn't just doing it once off, but really sustaining it. A good practice approach and cooperation of the public. That's the important thing. So again, it does work. So what I'll say actually in conclusion is public education campaigns work. They work when they're part of a set of activities to improve road safety. They don't work on their own. Success comes from targeted campaigns with wide ownership. Partnership together with collaboration and cooperation. And that needs to be with a clear strategy in place. So everybody knows what their role is, how they're going to resource it, what the milestones en route, and what will be delivered at the end of the implementation. So proper strategic planning. The third thing is that community involvement does deliver a greater chance of success in changing road safety user behaviour. And we've seen that, hopefully, from the examples in this presentation. Thank you for your time. If you want further information about anything on this slide pack or anything else on road safety, there's a website, Global Road Safety Partnership, which you can tap into any time. The material on it is free to air. Thank you.